All right, I guess we're streaming. Was that a thumbs up? Oh, okay, so we are streaming. Hey, hi everyone, I'm Kenny. I'm a curriculum developer here at Codecademy, and I want to welcome you guys all to today's live stream. Today's topic is going to be Bootstrap 4. So we're going to be styling a website using Bootstrap. Special shout out for those coming in from the CLL Slack community, Codecademy lifelong learners, hello. And want to say hi to everyone in the chat. If you want to say hi back, that'd be great. I'd love to learn a little bit about you guys, where you're from, maybe what you want to learn today. And if you're on YouTube and you want to access this site that is right behind me, you can click on the link in the description below. Hi, Nepal. Oh, and hey, Rachel. Faz, hi. Oh, wow, there's so many people. Lulian, if I mispronounce your name, I'm so sorry. And you are from Nepal. Oh, so you're a developer from Nepal then. That's awesome. Wow, so many people from around the world. Romania, excellent. Hi, Robbie. That's a tough one. Bilgahan, hello. And yes, Alex here is with me too. He's moderating. Whoa, so many people. Teach to employ Carousel clickable image using Bootstrap. Yes, that is going to be part of the agenda. All right. Hi from India. Hello. Awesome. We're going to wait just a few more minutes. I'm going to just go over some technical details. So if you guys are actually on YouTube and in the chat, I can see you guys being active. Awesome. Click on the link in the description below, and that'll lead you to the Codecademy website that is going to host the code that you can then code along with us as we make this project happen. Sorry if I missed your names, everyone. But I want to say hello to everyone who did say hello back. Thank you, guys. If you are coming in from Codecademy and you found this through the news and noteworthy section, if you want to check out the YouTube link in its full screen, click on the title in that little iframe, and it'll bring you to the YouTube page so that you can join in the chat as well. And I would love to hear from you guys. Love to hear from you all. Hi from Toronto. Hello back from New York. Hi, Patrick. All right. So let's just wait another minute, and then I want to go over a little bit of our agenda today, what we're going to build out. As you can see, if you're on the Codecademy site, you can see a little example of what we're going to be building out. Nothing too flashy, but it's going to have some cool little things that you might not have known before. I'm also hoping to learn a little bit from you guys today about maybe some things you know in Bootstrap that I don't. That'd be super cool. Cool. Oh, welcome for your first time here. Rajambir? Hope I said that right. Sorry. OK. With everyone sat down, acquainted, hope you guys are comfortable at home. I think we're going to get started then. OK? Got it right the first time. Sorry. All right. So today we're going to be learning about Bootstrap 4. And so Bootstrap 4 is a front-end framework. Now, when we talk about front end, we're talking about the display that you're seeing on a website, compared to a back end, where that's where you would see the logic that takes care of the stuff that goes on in the front end. And so when we talk, and then when you hear things like full stack, it incorporates both front end and back end. Now, I also mentioned that it's a framework, meaning that someone or a team of people have already written this code for you so that you can use in your project, and you don't have to rewrite everything from scratch, because that really defeats the purpose of this, right? If we're trying to style a website, why don't we jump straight to just writing our own CSS, which is the cascading style sheets you'd normally see on a website to make it look nicer, okay? Now, Bootstrap is really great because it allows us to create responsive sites. If you've seen the term responsive before, it just means that it changes the layout of your site to accommodate different screen sizes. So whether you're on mobile or you're on a desktop, despite the screen differences, you'll still get a pleasurable browsing experience. So if we take a look on the site behind me right now, that's, let's say, a small screen. And if we expand it, you'll notice that the layout of it changes ever so slightly, but it's still like the same sort of material, same elements there. Okay. The goal of today's live stream is not going to be to just make exactly this. I want you guys to feel comfortable with using Bootstrap, so we are going to be looking through documentation today. I know that's like a scary word sometimes at first, but Bootstrap has great documentation, it has great examples, and the way I use it, and I hope a lot of other people are using it, are just grabbing examples. So we're going to take examples directly from the documentation, and we're going to make it into our own little code. Let's see. I'm glad you guys have all said those highs. I hope you guys are going to feel comfortable asking questions as well. I love to hear from you guys about that. And I already saw a suggestion about the carousel example, making clickable carousel images. That's going to be this little tidbit right here. For those who don't know, carousel is like the slideshow of images, and you can click through that. So if we don't get through all of it, or if you guys get lost at any point too, if you click on this folder icon, you'll see another folder called steps. And I'm going to stop at each point. And you guys, if you get lost, you can check out what code we have so far and some of the comments that are in there so that you can jump back into the code along. Okay? Currently, I have the final page set up right here on the right, but I'm going to remove that. And we're going to go to our blank page, which you guys should all have. Okay? Let's take a brief pause right here. Are there any questions before we start, or any problems with connecting? We'll wait for a few seconds in the chat. If not, I just really have to assume that we're all good and dandy. Dead air. Nope. All right. Let's go. Let's do it. All right. So first things first, we need the documentation. So let's look it up. Everything seems OK. Let's go. All right. So we're looking for Bootstrap. And I'm just going to Google Bootstrap. And look, it's the first result that pops up. All right. So for us, we want to get started, because that's what you guys are asking for in the live stream. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So it has a little bit of the information for us, like an introduction, a quick start. If we just want the CSS, we can take this link right here, copy to clipboard. Bootstrap also offers some JavaScript files, which allows us to add more interactivity. So like that carousel component that we had that we were able to click through, that was because we have JavaScript in there. And they had some like other libraries like jQuery and Popper here for us. And if I scroll down a little further, because I know I've gotten acquainted with this, there's actually a starter template. So for all you guys coding along at home, just copy it, click the copy button, or you can manually click through everything and select it, but I'm going to be lazy and click the copy. I'm going to just paste it right over. Ooh, internal error. I'm just going to refresh that real quick. OK. So notice that we have the title, Hello World, and our body elements. Let's see. We have, I'm going to make this also bigger so you guys can see what I'm coding along with. We have a title, Hello World. We also have in our header, Hello World. But I don't think our title is going to be Hello World. Let's do something like Bootstrap live stream. That's not going to show up. And we don't really need this Hello World's text either. So I'm going to clear that out. And currently, we're going to have a blank page. And that's the end of our first step. We've incorporated Bootstrap into our project. Thumbs up for you guys. We're just going to keep on going from here. I will also look over chat. As I said, I'm going to stop along every point. And this is the end of our step 1. If there's any questions, feel free to ask. OK? I know, because I've kind of worked on this, that the next step is going to be making, or adding really, a navigation bar. And so the navigation bar In our lesson, we talk about components, utilities, and the grid system. And it sounds like the navbar is a component because it's an element that has some sort of default styling, and it has a function for us, right? So the navbar is going to be found in this Components tab, and we'll just have to locate where the navbar is. So for the navbar, documentation and examples for Bootstrap's powerful responsive, meaning that it's going to change its layout depending on screen size. Navigation header, the navbar. And it also has, ironically, well, an example of it at the very top. And so you can read through about how it works, but let's just jump right into it. And ooh, this example looks pretty close to what we need, right? So again, I'm just going to copy the code, and I'm going to place it right in. And that looks good to me. There is a little bit of spacing issues, indent issues. So I'm going to edit that. I'm just going to select everything and press tab once, and that should clear it for us. Let's enter it. Save. To run the code, you're going to click Save or press Command Enter or Control Enter. Command Enter for those on Macs, Control Enter for those on PC. Ayush asked what's a Bootstrap, and Bootstrap is the framework that we're going to be working with today to style our HTML pages. Okay. Let's see. So right now, we have, oh, awesome. We have the actual navbar located there for us. And we have something called a sandwich menu or a hamburger menu that when you click on it, it has all the different links. Okay? So this is great for us. We actually want to change a few things. So right now, if you look at how these elements are laid out, they all have classes. Anton, I don't think we're going to have time to build a Tinder clone, but maybe you could do that as an extension of what you learned here today. Okay? But like I was saying for classes, notice that they each have some different variants and some name attributed to their classes. This is what Bootstrap uses to style the web page, to style the elements. So it has its already predefined CSS library that we saw, and you're going to have to find what classes to add through the examples to see how you should style it. Okay, so let's just backtracking real quick right here. If you just wanted the CSS, you could have just used this. But we know that because it comes with a predefined CSS for us, we don't have to make it ourselves. Okay, and I want to change this around a little bit. One point that I made in the lesson is that this right here, navbar, expand, I'll make this a little larger, LG. The LG part represents a breakpoint, and LG is for large screens. So if we change it to something like SM, which is for small screens, you'll see that because our screen size is now bigger than that small display, the hamburger menu actually disappears. And if I put extra large or even large and save it, it appears again. But let's find a happy medium, and I want to change this for, let's see, medium-sized screens, so that when I hit that medium breakpoint, notice I'm dragging this window across, and well, there we go. We hit the medium breakpoint, that menu disappeared, and we have all the links again. Let's see. Let's also change this. Instead of navbar, let's see. Let's do boots and straps. That's going to be the idea for our little website today, Boots and Straps. It's going to be a website about boots and straps using Bootstrap, okay? So cool. And you guys can follow along it, all right? Ayush, you can follow along, and you can make it as we build it together. Bilghan, is the Navbar sticky? It's not, but we could definitely make it sticky. So let's change that a little later. I'm just going to edit a few of the links first. And so like if you guys are familiar with HTML, which is probably the only prerequisite, you'll see the traditional elements here. So you have all the tags and the, nope, not gonna go there. You'll see all the links and elements like the A tag for link. Let's change the name of that. Let's say instead, let's say it's boots. I want a link for boots. And for our drop-down types of straps, and you guys at home, you could name it whatever you care for. I'm just coming up with things on the fly. So like, what's nylon, maybe some rope here. Something else here, let's see, is, let's say it's the actual Bootstrap framework. Oh, thanks for that, Alex. Yeah, and for anyone else in the chat, if you want to click code along with us, click on that link below. Well, that was posted. And the great thing about the examples is that, like I said, we can tweak it to how we want. We don't always need anything, need everything. So this list item right here, that's nav item, it's disabled. You can't click on it. It doesn't do anything. And sometimes you wouldn't want to implement that logic if your website has a specific user who's not allowed to do something. But for our case, we don't need it. So I'm just going to delete it. And I'm going to save it again. And look, it's disappeared. And we have our site, and it's super responsive. There, awesome. I'm going to leave the search bar up for now. Since we're making a mock site anyway, it's not really doing much. But I think that's going to be it for the navbar. If you guys have any questions about the navbar, please ask them now. Otherwise, I'm just going to see how to implement that sticky top option for the navbar, okay? And I have a bad habit of opening new tabs, but let's use the one that we have currently, okay? So I know that a sticky top, it's not an actual element, and I know it's some sort of styling. So to add additional styling to Bootstrap elements and components, I use utility classes. So for utility classes, I'm going to have to do a little thinking. It's going to be something about position, how I want that navbar component placed. And so we can look through the common values that we see for CSS, like static, relative, absolute, fixed, and there's a sticky option. If I scroll down a little further, I see examples about a fixed top and fixed bottom and a sticky top. So I'm just going to copy that class right here. And you'll notice that for the navbar, that there's actually a lot of classes that goes with it. So navbar itself is the class that makes the whole thing a navbar. The navbar expand MD, that's what we talked about for the sandwich menu. Navbar light is going to be the color of it, and BG light is going to be the background color for it. So if I simply add this class sticky top and save it to Bootstrap, once we add more things, you'll see that it stays at the top. And Neil asked, is it possible to customize Bootstrap CSS classes and IDs? Yes, so two parts to that. If you want to directly download that file and include it into your project, you definitely can. But another thing you could do is also make your own CSS file and overwrite certain things that Bootstrap provides for you guys. In our example today, we'll include like one line of CSS for the Jumbotron, so you can see how we can add like a background to the Jumbotron class. I'll talk a little bit about that later. And so, Neil, definitely possible, okay? Thanks for that question. I hope you're not actually scared. Everything seems to be working fine so far, okay? All right, and again, if you guys are lost or need some sort of help, the step 2 part, you guys can just copy and paste this directly into the index HTML, I'll select everything, in order to just get like a clean start, but be caught up to where we are. I'm not going to do that just because I like where we are right now. But let's keep going. In the next step, I know that my website has a little banner, if you will. And it has a, let's see if I could pull this up again. Steps 8 final. And I know it says like if I, by using the site, you agreed to only eating cookies. Just kidding, you can eat any kind of pastry. And so I click and unclick, click, click, and it's going to display something else. And that's using something called collapse. And this link right here is actually a button. Okay? So I'm going to go back to index by just removing that last part, refreshing the page. Oh no, probably need 8,000. I'm just going to refresh this page. Oh no, it's disappeared. But the great part about this, I guess, is we can actually take the code from part 2, and we're up and running again. Okay, and I'll know not to try to find or look for the final product. Okay, and before we do that, I just want to add that last part about the sticky top, just because that's our own little touch to it. And here we go. So the next part we're going to do is add that little button, that banner for us. And so I'm going to, again, go to the Bootstrap documentation, and I'm going to look for a component. And the component that I want is a button that is right here. The button with a button link. It just renders as a button, as a link, even though it's a button. But I could have also used any other buttons here as well. If I chose primary, it would render a blue button, a secondary, a gray button, green, success, a green button, so forth and so forth. So what I'm going to do here, again, is take that example, and underneath the navbar, I'm going to put a link here, and it could have whatever saying that you want. You could say like, thanks for chiming in. Let's say thanks for chiming in, and I'll save over it so it has thanks for chiming in, but currently it doesn't do anything because I didn't add any sort of collapse functionality to it. Instead, we'll have to then go to collapse right here on the left. And so we can use this to toggle the visibility content of your project with a few classes and our JavaScript plugins. So this one actually does need JavaScript in it. If you didn't include the optional JavaScript files from below, this is not going to work. Okay? And here are another set of examples again. So I have the button already set up, but it looks like there's some other attributes that I would want to copy. So I'm going to take those. The only thing I'm not taking is the class, because I already have the styling for the class. And I'm going to paste that right in. Oh, and I have an extra angle bracket right there. And I have another error somewhere. Let's see, class type is button. Oh, I've declared type twice. I don't need that. Great. So this one is going to have a target right here, a target attribute of collapse example. And what it's targeting is another element that has that same ID. So we can add in a div right here that has that collapse example. And if I press enter and I save it, notice that nothing popped up on that page. But if I click, it appears. So that's really what's going on under the hood. This target is looking for something called collapse example. And by default, when we have a class of collapse, that means that the content inside, it's not going to load just yet. On the first load, it's going to show up as empty or hidden. Okay. If I remove this, you'll see that, and I save the page, you'll notice that by default it shows up, and when I click it, then it disappears, right? But we want the collapse there. And so for those viewing, thanks for chiming in. Glad to have you here. Glad to have you here. Yeah, that's it. Okay, I'm going to fix some indenting. And saved it, and glad to have you here. Awesome. One thing that we might want to do, though, is maybe center this, right? Like, it's off to the side right now. It doesn't look that good. And so to style something, we would use a utility class. So the utility class, we go back to our documentation, we look up utilities, and the thing that I want here is text related. No, it's text related, and if I look through the examples, I see there is some example about center aligned text along all viewports. Viewports are just talking about the screen size, really. When you see a viewport, it's talking about the content that is displayed in the browser. So however big that size is, that's your viewpoint, right? And I copied that utility class, and I'm just going to go to the class here for the button, and I'm going to add text align. Whoa. Text center, that didn't actually work. And I'm going to, but let's see if it works for the div. If I text center it, I'll add it and save it. Oh, the text is centered there. So something's happening here where text is not aligning, the button is not aligning, and I think it's because of how it's actually displayed. So this takes a little bit of background CSS knowledge, but if our text isn't displaying centered, it could be because of the button element itself. It's just being pushed off to the left. So even if the text is being centered, the element that contains the text isn't pushed to the center. So we can look on spacing, click sizing, spacing. And what we want to do is set the margin to auto. So right here, we have class M for margin, and we want the left and right margins to be set to auto so that it will automatically center for us. Let's check that out. Let's see if it works. Center. Nope. Oh, and let's see. Display block. Awesome. Now it's centered. So we had to change the display from inline to block. A little CSS for you guys, and you can see a little bit of the frustrations of working with CSS too, I guess. But now we have our little banner for chiming in, and we're glad to have you here. Okay, let's take a break. I'm going to look at chat for a bit and see if there's any questions. Yep, Anton, so that's exactly the goal of Bootstrap. We could build faster websites, and it also has additional benefits of being cross-browser compatible, so you don't have to worry about how it would look on Edge versus Safari versus Firefox versus Chrome. And Bill Gahan, can we design with Bootstrap for a site that uses WordPress for the CMS panel? That's an interesting question. I'm not entirely sure, but if I were to venture a guess, I would say that WordPress probably has its own styling for you guys, or some way to style your website that maybe under the hood could use Bootstrap. I don't know if it uses it directly. That'd be something we'd have to look up together. And if we have time later in the live stream, I'd be glad to look it up with you. Okay? I don't have to go to. Can I watch this? Yes. So Daniel, after this stream ends, so we're trying to aim for like an hour. If for some reason you can't follow along with us, yeah, this stream is going to be uploaded as a video, so you can follow at your own pace. Okay? Awesome. And again, if you are a little lost, you can click on 3 and banner and take that code and paste it into index.html. You're welcome, Daniel. And continue following along. Okay? Let's see. After our, I'm going to do a little sneak. And after our banner of sorts, we're going to make our Jumbotron. But thing I didn't really mention that is going to be included as well is the grid system. So our Jumbotron is actually going to fit inside the grid system so that it sizes properly, it looks better, and that we can take advantage of the grid and change our layouts to have that responsive aspect of like showing up differently on large or small or medium or extra large screens, right? So to make that, I could actually do it off the top of my head now, but let's go to layout. And I want to look at grid. And so how it works, that's something really important to read up on. But basically, at the heart of it, we have containers. So Bootstrap has containers that contains rows, And inside the rows, we have columns. So that's always going to be the standard layout. Containers, rows, and columns. We can have multiple columns inside rows, and we can have multiple rows inside containers, but that's always going to be that set pattern. If you want to make things a little bit more complicated later on, you can add rows inside columns, but we're not really going to touch that for this live stream. Just know that you can do that. You can make your site fancier than what we have right now. Okay? So for the grid system, let's just copy this for now and paste it right in. And you'll see that we have a container. It does some spacing for us and a little bit of the layout. Just fix the indentation there. But we don't really need some of this stuff. In fact, we don't even need the next two rows. We just need that first row. Okay? And we're going to take that from here. All right, so I said we wanted to use our, for Daniel, sorry, just saw your question. We do live streams every Thursday, thank you, around 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. We would love to have you in other chats and other streams as well. Thanks for checking in. But back to the topic at hand about Jumbotrons. It sounds like another component, right? It's another element. It's already styled for us. Let's take a look at how to formulate this. So for the Jumbotron, a lightweight and flexible component for showcasing hero unit style content. If you're not familiar with what a Jumbotron is and why it seems like a made-up word, it's going to be, it comes from the fact that when you're at an arena or a stadium, there's a giant TV called the Jumbotron, or the company that makes it, no, wait, Sony makes it. The name of the TV is called the Jumbotron, and it allows you guys to, like, if you're in really bad seats or you need to know what's going on but you're not up close to the action, you can see what's happening still. Like, you paid money to be there, you want to see what's going on. And so the name of this Jumbotron component is to showcase certain important details or important work, and we want it to stand out, right? We want to take up a lot of space. So here, I'm just going to copy the Jumbotron component class, and I'm going to paste it right where it says one of our 3 columns, because we don't have 3 columns anymore. We just have one. But I want this Jumbotron to be in our component. And notice that here on the sides, we actually have a little bit of padding. And as I make this bigger and I open up the screen, the size of this Jumbotron and the padding also changes along with it. That's like the great aspect of using the container and using the grid system. It's making this convenient for us to have a really adaptable and responsive layout. But we don't want hello world here either. Let's see. Instead, let's do a background first. Right? I'm going to remove all this extra stuff. I just want the Jumbotron. It's going to be a blank space. And so, also, for you guys coding along, I'm going to use this, this little URL right here, which is going to contain the background of our Jumbotron. So I'm going to copy that. And this is the part where I mentioned we're going to use a little bit of CSS. This is the part we're going to do it. Let's see. In Jumbotron, in our class, we can do something called inline CSS, where we assign the style, right? And to set the background CSS, and I know it's a URL that I want to use, CSS. I'm going to Google search it. Usually try to avoid W3. Go to MDM here. And it says I need to do a background image and a URL, and I just have to pass in what the URL is. Let's see. So I want to do background image URL, and I'll paste in the URL there. Press enter, and I'm not sure if you could tell, but it actually did change. All right. I think there's just a few other elements that we have to put in there. So let's see. Background image. No repeat CSS. Let's see what this has right here. Background repeat Y, but it should be no repeats as far as I remember. I want a no repeats. W3. Okay, fine. I'm not going to look at W3 schools anymore. Repeat X. Okay, here's the one that I want. And it's on. You're right. Let's use something else instead. Okay, so I want background repeat, no repeats, not repeating, and as far as I remember, I want something about cover too. I wonder if I could just find it here. Cover, just look for it. Nope. So, a bad habit of looking up things in new tabs. Image, cover, CSS. And where am I looking for scaling background images? Okay. And that is not what I want. Scaling image up, containing and cover. Where is it? So I want, background size. CSS Tricks usually has a good. No, that's not the one I want either. Cover, let's take a look. So it would be background size and then cover. Okay, so let's add this into our code. Background size, cover. Oh, sweet, it's there. Okay, taking a quick look on the chats. Awesome, W3 schools. All right, and let's add some other thing. Div. Let's add another div inside here. And let's see. I want this div to also have text eventually, so I'm going to style it a little bit with a background color. And I want it to have a RGB value. And I want it to be slightly dark just so some text can show up. So if we do that and we start adding some, hello there, some text, ooh, it's not actually showing. We can see hello there, but we're not really seeing the background change. So how do I do that? Background color, let's see, RGBA. And Anton, you're making me go click on the 5th link. Thank you. And we have background color, RGBA. It looks right, but if I'm doing this correctly, it should have some sort of like grayish tint to it, and I'm not seeing that. I wonder what's going on. But for the purposes of this live stream, I'm going to try to speed it up a little bit and take a look at what I did before. So at the end, my Jumbotron class is there. I'm setting the background style here, and I want it to have these attributes. So I'm going to just take that and save it. You guys can feel free to do that as well. I just don't want to take up too much time with trying to debug this. And honestly, that's my biggest gripe about CSS in general anyways, is trying to figure out what all of this does, whereas Bootstrap documentation is so much cleaner. Awesome, it's showing up. I'm not sure entirely what I did there, but it's got to be something about the classes that I didn't add before that are adding that additional styling to it. Okay, so we had a little funny saying there before, so boots are great. I don't know what to say. What else to say? Not the best quotes, but it's something for us to work with for now. And you guys are free to change it at home however you wanted to do it. But that's really it for the Bootstrap part, the Jumbotron component. And if you guys want to find the finished code for that, go to step 4. All right? And if you've lost your way, go ahead and feel free to do that as well. let's see, I'm glad you guys can share this pain. CSS is a little frustrating to work with sometimes, but without it, we wouldn't have had this, this nice little background image to put in. So sometimes you just got to wrestle with it. The next component we're going to do is cards. And so if you think about cards, cards are like mini containers of sorts, and they hold a little bit of information that are similar across for the various cards that you have. So for our cards, we want to make like little tiles to showcase information about boots or straps or perhaps the bootstrap. Okay. Daniel, good luck with your exam. Thanks for chiming in. And I'm gonna look up how to find that as well on the components page. So we have a card here, and it looks exactly what we want. Notice that they also have some included CSS where they put style width is 18 rem. So that just, it sets the width automatically for them to be that set size, regardless of screen size. And so when we want to add another thing to the container, remember, we want to have additional rows, and then we want to have additional columns inside those rows, excuse me. And so I'm looking at where my Jumbotron component ends. So I'm going to just quickly comment that. Jumbo. And I'm going to start a new row. And Jumbo. And this is going to be the end of Jumbo row. Comments are really important, guys, when you want to understand. Ooh, and I guess I misplaced that Jumbo first. If you want to understand where you are placing things and you want to revisit code, because otherwise you're going to get lost. Well, or I'm going to get lost and we won't know what's going on. But let's do card row here. And I want to do another div. Oh, another div. And this div is going to be our row. And I want to make 3 columns inside this row. Might have been a little ambitious here if we want to get done with all this. But, and I want 3 separate rows. So I just copied and pasted that row, that column in that row 3 times. And now we can go back and we can copy our card and paste it right in. We have some indenting issues as well, so I'm going to tab those over. Awesome. And great, we have our first card that shows up. That's going to be a little difficult to see because the image is not loading, and we don't want the card title. We don't need some quick explanation. But let's see how to fix that. If you go to the left-hand panel, we have our first card image. And I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it inside where our source is, because right now it doesn't lead anywhere. It's just three dots or an ellipses. And while I'm at it, let me just put an alt text in case it doesn't appear. Old boots, enter, and bam, we have it right there. We have a row, and we have a column, and we have a card inside that column. Cool. Please cover how to align images in the center. Images in a row. Ooh, Adamoa, let's see. Maybe we could talk about that instead of cards then real quick. But I do want to finish this one up real quick. The reason why this spacing looks a little odd right now is because it's expecting 3 columns here. So, so this is actually it's accommodating the space for this image, but there's not any other content inside the other columns, so it looks a little weird. But if I copy this and I paste this over 3 times, press enter, whoops, where did I mess up? Right here, and paste this 3 times over. Second one, nope. Row, column, column, think this just has to do with where I am putting this material. So I'm having a lot of divs, and I'm having a lot of columns. So that is the right row, and we want a column, and this should be spaced. Oh, you know why? It's because of the Bootstrap example. It's taking up a default width. Ugh, should have noticed that. We talked about that. Oh, we're gonna fix it now. Oh, awesome. And we have the third one, but it doesn't fit because it's just taking up too much space. I think it's just that our image, even as its smallest, it's not gonna fit very well. But if we stretch this out, let's see. We stretch this out, notice that all three images are aligned, okay? I'm not gonna style it exactly like we did, just copying and pasting for now, just so that I can try to sort of hit that deadline for the hour, okay? A few quick questions. Adamola, aligning images in the center with Bootstrap is actually quite, well, it's easier than you would if you were to use like traditional CSS. Just to quickly go over something like that. The premise here, like for, let's say for our cards, right? They are centered because the columns that we put in automatically align to the grid system that Bootstrap has in place. We get more into this in the lesson, in the Bootstrap lesson, if you guys are interested in that. Codecademy does have a 7-day free trial for pro users, 7-day pro trial. So if you guys want to check out any of the pro subscription material, please do so. And we talk more about it in there to give you a bit more guidance in the documentation. We might look at something like, for layout, if I wanted to center the images in a row, I might go to the grid, check out the examples here. And it looks like, so for the first one, if that was the case, if I wanted to just center columns, I would just enter justify content, MD center, MD being the breakpoint for medium, so we might just eliminate that. If I wanted to center something like I did before with text, it could be text center, like we saw here for text, where it was text center, this class. Otherwise, I might look towards spacing or sizing. No, spacing is right. And I could look at the margins, and I could scale the left and right margins to auto so that our browser is going to automatically space and center those images for us. Okay? I hope that helps. We did that directly with the button here. Oh man, let's scroll up a little bit. With the button right below the nav bar, right here. So without this MX Auto and dblock, which an image would already be display block, it would be aligned to the left, right? So let's add those back in, and notice that by including that, the button is now centered. You can apply that same sort of logic for the images that you want. Okay. Let's see. Checking in with the chats. Thanks for the you guys are welcome. Awesome. So I'm going to keep going, and we have a few more sections to go through. The carousel, I know that was really important. Why didn't it didn't show as you wrote? Thanks, Guy. Where were you before, man? Yeah, that makes total sense, and I'm so sorry that I missed that. But thanks, someone's paying attention. Appreciate it. Okay, and I also have some extra F here for some reason. But let's keep going. We have our cards set up. It's a little willy-nilly. I do think it's a little important to talk about breakpoints, though, so let's take a second to go over that. By default, our columns have a like an auto adjust thing going on, but each row should have can fit up to 12 individual columns. And so if I set 12, it's going to stretch out to take up the entire row. So that's going to be for any screen, right? Because by default, it has extra small listed, and it's going to be for any screens bigger than XL and bigger, so that's all the screens. But if I wanted to show up as just having a width of, let's say, 6 columns for like medium-sized screens, or let's do small and big, small. Then once I hit this breakpoint, and adjust it for my other ones as well. Then you'll notice that they go side by side, and the last one still takes up the entire span of the row. If I have 3 cards, and we can only have 12 columns in a row, and I have 3 cards, 3 columns, I guess I should make it 4 each then, a span of 4. So for small screens, let's, instead of making it 6, let's do 4. And we should be able to see all 3 cards show up on the same row. Enter there. Bam. Now if I minimize it again, notice that after I hit that extra small breakpoint, that they're back to taking up all 12 rows. In the example that we do list, it's a little bit more intricate than that. We center it a little bit, and we also justify it to center the images. So I hope if you guys want to take a look and implement that into your own code, you can do so. I really want to try to hit this 2:30 deadline. I'm not sure how much time I'm actually going to spend with styling the images from here on. But the options are there for you guys if you so want to. Okay, so I'm going to go and keep on moving. Take a quick look at the chats. Didn't show up. Okay. And that's going to be for my column. So I know that at the end of this, let's add another column, comment here, end of cards. I'm also being a little haphazard about my commenting. But it helps, so any little bit helps in just like knowing where I am and how this ends up, where to refer back to. So the next one that we're going to do was the ASTA of Carousel. Oh no, I don't want that spacing. Anyways, Carousel, Carousel, end of Carousel. Let's see. Oh, Anton, that's just crazy talk. Streaming another day? No. We're gonna get through this, okay? Just gotta believe a little. Let's see. Class is gonna be row again, so we're adding another row, and I want to add another div here, and I want to add another column. Okay. Okay. Cool. Trying. All right. So this next column, and by this point we're almost done. I'm just finagling with some of the names and making sure that they're all appropriate. Tidying this up a little bit before we go on. Awesome. So we have the last thing, second to last thing that we want to add is the Jumbotron. And it's also another component. It's already styled for us. It has a purpose. And let's see. Here I need to find Carousel. Carousel. You've seen carousels before. They're like a horse carousel. You can go on, it cycles around. Same sort of idea here. We want a set of images that we can cycle around. And they have various examples of slides only, with control, and with indicators, with captions. So there's a lot of examples to choose from. I think, you know what? I think I'm just going to use the one that has the controls. That was one that was asked for. In the examples that we provide for you, it has the ones with indicators as well. So if you want to use that, feel free. And I pasted in a lot of code, and I have to fix a little bit of the indentation now. Okay. So let's save our code, and here it is on the bottom. It's broken images again. We can access the images here in the left, the carousel images. So I can paste those in. Let's see. Provide an appropriate alt text, so boots on mountain. excuse me while I try to copy and paste as quick as I can. Boots on mutton. This is going to be a book bag. And the third carousel, which is missing a D on that word, and an appropriate boots on stone alt text. Save it, scroll down, and here we go. Cool. And we have images that we can click through. Granted, if I had more time, I'd probably style this and space this out a bit more and have different images for the cards. A little trade-off. I would love to just go back and answer questions instead, though. And so really, like with all Bootstrap stuff, what I find super useful is just looking at the documentation and figuring out what it is that I want and then copying it. And once I have it, I can then see how it renders. I can play around with it a little bit more. Sometimes I might have to look on forums, see what other people have done. I've checked on sites like MDM and like CSS tricks to see what goes into actually styling it if I am having trouble. And so that's really the thought process behind it. And Bootstrap makes it really easy for you to do. The last thing that I want to include here is a simple Nav component, which is, I just want to include because it's not the same thing. So I just added a break there. But the nav is not the same thing as a nav bar. The nav is more specific to certain pages. You might not see it on every page, but it does have a collection of links that you might want. And so depending on how the layout of your site goes, you can use one of two examples here provided. You can also customize it to your own liking, but these are like safe bets that you know are going to display a certain way. So once again, we're here. We're going to copy the example. And since it's going to be the last real major parts of our websites, I'm just copying and pasting code because I don't like writing those angle brackets. But this is going to be our nav components. And end of nav components. So the nav component is going to be like a series of links that you might want to include. Let me set up the row. Classes row, and also another div that's going to be in our column. And I can take this, copy, and paste it all in. If nothing else, today was a simple, quick copy and pasting exercise brought to you by Codecademy. It's important stuff. And exit out of that, save it. OK, awesome. So we have our link. So I'm not going to get any more descriptive with these links any more than they did. But you guys are definitely welcome to put your own little spin on it. The only thing that I am going to play around with this is removing the disabled link like before. Don't really need it. And so we have active first link. Now, that's not our first link anymore, but yeah, but you get the idea. Maybe we can do one last thing on, let's see, styling or centering this. So if I look up that last part and look up some utility classes to style it, maybe we could have some success, right? And let's see, I want a spacing, and I want to set the margin again to MX Auto. If this is gonna be a display, if it displays block, then it should work. If not, then we're gonna have to find another solution. But I want to set this as MX Auto. And maybe we could do what we did before and setting it as a display block. Oh, no. What if we set our column to MX Auto instead? Let's see, how do I center links? Maybe they have it back in components and I just missed it. Let's see, components, and I go down to navs. Ah. Okay, I think I'm seeing something. So right align, horizontal align, here we go. Copy that class. Slap that bad boy on. All right. Fix my quotes, very important. Boom, okay, awesome. And then we have centered links. Okay, I think we just made it in time for the hour. It's not as styled as I wanted it to be. If you want to check out the more stylized and finalized version, you can go click on 8 final and copy and paste that over. But I think there's also some merit to being able to do this in an hour with Bootstrap. So that's also something on its own. If you guys were following along, congrats to you guys as well. We're going to stick around on the chat for a little bit. But I think that's really it for the live stream. I'll stay here for a few more questions if you guys have any, excuse me. And thank you guys for joining in. Really appreciate it. It was really fun doing this. And nerve-wracking, I should say, too. But it was great. Thanks. Whew. If I stop this live stream, is the chat still going to be there?
Yeah. So
cool. All right. Catch you guys later. Okay. I got to find this.